Hello, hello everyone. My name is Amanda Silva, and I'm originally from Brazil, but I'm speaking to you from Birmingham in the UK. And I had the privilege of knowing the community now for a couple of years and being fed by their sharing of the word and their formation in the word of God. So I continue to walk with them as much as I can in my journey. So that's why I'm here, and I want to share with you my reflections and my thoughts on one of the readings that we're gonna contemplate in the Vigil Mass. And actually, for me, is one of my favorite readings in the Bible, and the reading is Genesis 1, chapter 1 to chapter 2, and then chapter 2 verses 1 and 2. And this is the beginning, isn't it? And not just, the beginning, and as you call it, the creation story. But I don't like it to be just a story. I think for me, this word here means more than just a story. For me, when I the reason why it's one of my favorites, because I think it has so much power to remind us that there is goodness, that actually the world that we live in today, or the struggles that we go through today, or the lies that were told today, they're not the essence of it. That actually God's intention for us is goodness, is an intention that is good. It has like full flavor, and it's so good. So in this context that we're thinking about redemption and salvation, and then I was thinking, for something to be redeemed, that means that for me, that something can do better. I think that the meaning of redemption in this context, it means that thing that we have in question can and deserves much better than the state that it is in already. So I think what this story tells me is that the state, the natural state, if you like, of us, of the world and everything around us, is a state of goodness. Why? Because God, the creator, who had the authority to do so, made it so. So no one can change our nature as human beings. No one can change the nature of nature and the world. But I guess what has happened is that we have kind of like we kind of became transformed. We were transformed, and we became maybe something that didn't resemble, or that does not that does not speak of, or does good in our nature, because we've gone away from that. And we see that in the story of the stories in the Bible, and in the history of salvation. And I think we see that in our lives today. We maybe we are not at our best, but what I want to say, and what I was kind of struck with, is that for me, no one, in the light of this story, no one has more authority to restore, to create, or recreate, than God. I think what I was thinking, the image I had in my mind is as if, maybe like my life, or different aspects of life has gone kind of wrong, like in a painting. So for example, there was a painting, it was a beautiful painting, but somehow maybe someone came and painted over and kind of messed the whole thing up. But for me, the best person to call in this moment, when things are messed up, is the painter, is the creator, is the one who knows that painting best. So if you call the creator, he's gonna come and he's gonna be able to look at the painting, what has happened to it. But because he knows the true nature of the painting, he's best able to, to do it over, or to like use what's already been kind of messed around with, or use what's already there, even if it's not his first intention, to use it to make the painting beautiful again. So that reminds me not to leave to people that power of creation over who I am, or to leave to myself, or to leave to things or thoughts or the world that power of creating and generating who I am. And what I felt was that in the darkness of my life. So we see that in the story, the Spirit of God was hovering over the darkness. And for me, that's a beautiful picture of Jesus, of God really going into the darkness in the beginning. And in that darkness, he brought himself, and he was not afraid. He hovered and he contemplated that darkness. And then the minute God started creating and speaking, salvation started to come, and goodness and life. And then God continues with his work of goodness over the land. He says, okay, make let them be, let the fish, and then he says it is good. And then he comes to man and creates him in his own image, and he says this is good. And then taking it a little bit into my own life, I kind of imagined Jesus, me walking with Jesus in the garden, in a garden of who I am, in the garden of my interior life. And I felt Jesus speaking into my heart and saying, you're beautiful. And that word in that moment for me brought me so much peace and restoration of who I am, a restoration in my mind and in my thoughts of who I am, as God's creation, as a beautiful image, in contrast to maybe sometimes the lies that we can believe in. So my invitation for us today, my invitation for you, is for you to take God into the garden, in the world, in the universe, whether you feel formless and void, or in your garden and universe, wherever you are, and take God the creator, take Jesus into that space, and allow him to speak and to do his creating goodness and works of goodness in that place. And then the transformation and goodness can come, because he is the source of that goodness that can happen. And when I was thinking and contemplating Jesus speaking this beauty into who I am and into my life, I suddenly thought, wow, it's not enough for us to just contemplate the God's creative work in the world, or God creating the world in the story. It's not enough just for us to contemplate it and sit there and say, wow, that is nice. No, it's not enough. What we need to do is we need to bring that creator into who we are, into ourselves, and then allow him to do that creating work in us. So not just to contemplate it, but to believe, and allow him to restore us back into that good and that original goodness. And so that, for me, to be honest with you, that is for me my hope of salvation. My hope of salvation is knowing that Jesus has created goodness, and he can, and his plan for us is of goodness. So therefore I can look forward to that. And if another reading that came to mind, if you want to take it to prayer, is the Revelation image in the end, when Jesus is our sun, he's our light, is in, I think, Revelation chapter 21. You can have a read. Then how in the end the work of salvation is actually going back to that beginning of goodness. So I hope you are able to do this. Allow God to come into the garden of who you are in your life, and to speak that goodness, and say, this is good, you are good. Great. Amen. And we'll continue to be with each other.